I was taken by a friend, and I became fascinated. And then the Spirit of God began to speak to me as I went back night after night.
Back in 2001, he announced having his last crusade in Los Angeles at the Rose Bowl would be his last crusade. And so all the pastors and church leaders and ministry leaders came together in Los Angeles for that great announcement. And they told us when it would be, the date. Then they asked that we'd have others organized for different departments. One department would be for promotion, the other department for discipleship and follow-up, the other department would be for prayer, for security, for parking, for setup and tear down, and there's so many other things that they asked for volunteers of the church to help out to make the crusade successful and effective. What I was thinking about with church planting is that happens with us announcing that we are going to church plant. We'll have a bunch of people, we'll try together saying, hey, we want to plant a church, and this is what it takes to plant a church. It costs this much, we need this facility, we need chairs, we need sound, we need advertisement, promoters, we need kids department, we need music, we need greeters, we need security, parking, all that stuff. Set up and tear down, follow up, make sure that we have discipleship mechanisms in place, such as mission communities, as they call it nowadays, small groups throughout the week. Just all those factors were kind of some things that Billy Graham Crusade were doing. And the crazy thing about it is the experience I had with the Billy Graham Crusade in Los Angeles, actually in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, was prior to the crusade, they asked for a prayer team, and so I was part of the prayer team, and they rented an office building for about a year and a half, and they asked for pastors to gather there weekly on a Monday. And so we'd go down there, myself and Pastor Stan, we'd drive all the way from Yucaipa. It'd take us about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours to get there. And we get there and we'd pray with all the pastors and leaders in that community that would just pour out our hearts to win souls and see the Lord just use the crusade in a big way to impact the lostness in the Los Angeles basin for the gospel's sake. And so we did that. As we kept doing that, the crusade was delayed because Billy Graham broke his hip and had surgery, and so it was postponed for a later date. We weren't sure if it was even going to happen, but they still asked us to continue to pray for him, of course, for his healing, as well as that we keep going. So we kept praying. One thing I noticed, though, in the room that used to be packed, it wasn't packed anymore. It got smaller and smaller as the months went by. Then it came time where it was announced that we were going to have a crusade and we're going to keep going, so people started showing back up. And then as we got closer and closer, it started to dwindle down for the prayers. As the time came for the crusade to happen, the day before the crusade was to happen, the organizers of the prayer team organized where we'd go to the stadium and we'd pray over every seat in the Coliseum. That God will just bless and touch the lives of the people that sit in that stadium. So me and Pastor Stan, we went that early morning to connect with all the other team leaders from the Billy Graham Evangelism Association and all the local pastors and volunteers, and we found out that it was just me and Pastor Stan that were the only ones that weren't part of the Billy Graham Evangelical Association that showed up for that. So they used us, and we were very thankful. So me and Pastor Stan took teams out that would come from all over, bands, youth groups, all kinds of groups that would come from different parts of the churches in our region to go pray over the seats. So they came and we prayed, and we did that for hours upon hours, and we covered each seat. The disappointment from that was that nobody showed up that was part of the prayer gatherings and part of the big rally at the beginning. So when it came time to pray and fulfill our role as the prayer group, as the prayer team for the Billy Graham Association, it was just me and Pastor Stan that showed up. It was a privilege to do so, and I was thankful that I stuck with my commitment, even though it cost a lot to drive out there and time-wise and everything, but I saw the importance of it, and I believe in if you say yes to something, you fulfill it. So we did that, and it was great. That's going to happen with church planting, where you're going to have a bunch of people rally. They're going to be there. Yeah, let's do this. But when action time happens, when it's time to hit the pavement and make things go, you may find only yourself there. But what are you going to do? I hope that you stay committed. You said yes to the call, and yes, in obedience to go out there and do what it takes. And so I pray that you do your part, even if nobody else shows up.